The Terrans, who inhabit the human frontier in the vast Corvus Quadrant, are facing a potential threat from the Grixul alien armada, a vicious species of invaders who have set their sights on the plentiful resources of the Terran colonies. Under the stern leadership of Fleet Admiral Ted Casen, the Terrans are preparing their defenses aboard their flagship, the USSS Alcon. The news of the enemy fleet's approach has spread like wildfire among the crew, inspiring a mixture of fear and determination. The USSS Alcon, a wonder of Terran engineering, is drifting gently into a nebula, with its hull reflecting the ghostly light of far-off stars. Admiral Casen is standing on the command deck, his gaze riveted on the holographic monitors that show the vastness of space and the approaching hostile dots. In spite of their numerical disadvantage, the Terran fleet possesses some of the most sophisticated vessels and armaments in the entire galaxy, demonstrating the resilience of human creativity in the face of difficulty. The Grixul aliens were known for their enormous strength and vast numbers, which they used to overpower their enemies. Although their spacecraft were big and powerful, they were not as advanced as the Terrans' technology. The Grixul people were expanding their territories and envied the technical progress of the Terrans, which had been the root cause of the conflict between the two for many years. Admiral Casen, an experienced participant in interplanetary combat, knew the risks involved. The Terrans lacked the numerical strength of the Grixul, but they had a better technology and tactical leadership. The Terrans were determined to protect their lands and maintain their technical advantage, while the Grixul were focused on taking over mineral-rich planets that were crucial to Terran businesses. The crew of USSS Alcon was on edge as they approached the enemy forces. Admiral Casen, the leader of the fleet, was a mix of young cadets and experienced officers. He knew that any mistake could be disastrous not just for his fleet but for all Terran life in the quadrant. With this in mind, let's talk about the events that transpired during the first encounter and the ensuing conflict. As dawn broke on the other side of planet Veritas, the Terran radar systems detected the approach of Grixul scouts. Admiral Casen acted swiftly and led his fleet into a defensive formation that would take advantage of their superior targeting systems and agility. The Grixul scouts were quick and agile, and they entered the Terran detection range without realizing that they were facing a prepared fleet. The Terran spacecraft opened fire immediately, using their precision lasers and stronger photon cannons to target the weak spots in the enemy's armor. This strategy was based on thorough research and intelligence gathering. The Terrans' accuracy was lethal, and they quickly gained the upper hand in the conflict. After a brief combat with the Grixul scouts, the Terran crew emerged victorious, leaving behind only the wreckage of the Grixul ships as evidence of their presence. The morale of the Terran crew was boosted significantly, as their technological expertise, readiness, and strategic acumen were on display under the leadership of Admiral Casen. However, with the main Grixul fleet looming in the distance, it was clear that this was only the beginning of a much larger fight. The enormous number of Grixul ships in the distance presented a formidable obstacle that the Terran crew would have to face. Admiral Ted Casen realized that their victory over the Grixul scouts was just a pretext for a much larger conflict, as hundreds of Grixul cruisers appeared from the warp gate, forming a formidable assault formation with numerous gun ports and missile bays, ready to overwhelm the Terran defenses. Admiral Casen was aware of his fleet's numerical disadvantage, so he decided to arrange his ships in a dispersed echo formation. This improved the effectiveness of their long-range ion guns and made it simpler to maneuver quickly and avoid opposing strikes. Instead of engaging directly, Casen focused on hit-and-run maneuvers, taking advantage of the Terran ship's superior speed and agility. These maneuvers were intended to capitalize on the less advanced targeting systems and slower recharge rates of the Grixuls. Throughout the conflict, Casen demonstrated his strategic prowess. To draw parts of the Grixul fleet away from their main body, he ordered feints and diversions. Then he would unleash well-coordinated blasts of concentrated fire at them. This strategy not only left the Grixul leaders perplexed, but it also steadily lowered their numbers. During the escalation under the command of Fleet Admiral Ted Casen, the Terran fleet, although depleted, demonstrated incredible fortitude. They transformed a potentially disastrous incursion into a sequence of well-planned actions, showcasing not only their exceptional technological capabilities but also their outstanding strategic forethought. Casen's strategies ensured that the Terrans did not go out softly into the night, despite the battle being far from over. As the conflict continued, Fleet Admiral Ted Casen noticed a critical weakness in the Grixul fleet's positioning. In their haste to win, the Grixul forces unintentionally extended their flank too much, leaving a gap between their heavy artillery units and their main fleet. Seeing a window of opportunity, Casen devised a bold strategy that could potentially win the war. Admiral Casen gave the order for the USSS Alcon, the flagship of the Terran fleet, and a group of the fleet's fastest interceptors to carry out a high-speed flanking maneuver at a precise moment. The advanced stealth technology of the Terrans allowed them to navigate through the enemy's blind spots without being detected, which was crucial for this daring operation. Emerging from the shadow of a nearby asteroid belt, the Terrans launched a devastating attack on the exposed Grixul artillery ships, catching them off guard. The attack prevented the Grixul ships from providing support to their front lines, throwing the Grixul ranks into chaos. This unexpected move greatly turned the tide of the battle in favor of the Terrans. Admiral Casen's tactical expertise was demonstrated by this daring maneuver, which not only boosted the morale of the Terran forces but also prepared them for the decisive stages of the battle. During a fierce battle, the Terran fleet united to take on the weakening Grixul forces and were cheered by their recent tactical success. Admiral Casen seized the opportunity and launched an attack. The powerful armor of the Grixul cruisers proved no match for the Terran state-of-the-art weaponry, the photon disruptors. The Terrans carried out a coordinated assault from multiple angles while the Grixul fleet scrambled to reorganize, with each ship's crew executing flawlessly according to Casen's orders. The decisive battle pushed the tactical and technological limits of the Terrans to their utmost, culminating in the crushing defeat of the Grixul flagship and a resounding victory for the Terrans. The once dangerous Grixul fleet now floated calmly in the expanse of space after their defeat. The Terran soldiers, although beaten, rejoiced. Fleet Admiral Ted Casen stood on the command deck of the USSS Alcon, studying the starscape that had witnessed the final test of Terran tenacity and ingenuity. This victory served as a reminder of how quickly galactic peace can be lost, as well as a testament to Terran military strength. Casen considered the cost of the fight, the lives lost, and the necessity of finding a long-term solution to prevent future wars. In an effort to promote understanding instead of hostility, he gave some thought to diplomatic relations with the Grixuls. Even as the crew celebrated, Casen remained sober, understanding that true success would only come from ensuring a time when such conflicts would be avoided altogether. His determination to lead in both times of war and in creating lasting peace only grew stronger.